your questions one by one. So during the session itself, if you have any burning questions that you want to ask, feel free to drop it in the Q&A segment in Zoom itself, and David and I will be answering you during the demo as well as at the end of the session. Okay, to start off first, as you all are aware, right now we are using DocuSign as the e-sign tool to enable remote signing for existing PAX digital forms. Now we are transitioning into Adobe starting from 1st May. So up until 30th April, you should continue to use DocuSign as your portal to send over signs to forms to signature for your clients and customers. And currently, starting from 11th February, there is already a parallel run where customers have also been using Adobe Sign as well, along with DocuSign, as it is triggered by call center, email team, and service center to use Adobe Sign as well. Starting from 1st May, we will fully cut over to Adobe Sign. There will be no more DocuSign used to send forms. Up until 31st January, you will also be using DocuSign to download any completed forms. You can go over to your portal to access DocuSign forms to download completed forms up until 31st January. But take note, you will not be able to send any forms from DocuSign starting from 1st May. A quick overview of how Adobe Sign works. Don't worry, we will be going into details via live demo. So if you have to summarize into key steps, you log into Adobe, you choose the form you want to send, and then you send out the form after inputting the key fields that you enter as a pre-filler. Okay, so I think one of the most asked questions in our previous session was, how do I get started? How do I get my account? How do I log in and start using? So right now the process is not triggered yet, but soon you will be receiving an email from Adobe closer to the launch date, maybe around the 3rd or 4th week of April, where you will get an email that somewhat looks like this, titled Get Started with Adobe Acrobat Sign. So you click on this Get Started that you see here, and then you will be triggered to a page where you'll be asked for a verification code. You will be getting another email saying verification code from Adobe, and you copy in the verification code that you get via email OTP and use that verification code on Adobe Sign itself. Then you'll be triggered to fill in your first name, last name, and input a password for yourself. And once you do this, you'll be prompted for a secondary email address. You can just skip this. But don't worry about it. You don't have to remember all this. Closer to the launch date, before this entire process is triggered, you will be getting a step-by-step activation guide along with instructions to log in, as well as the same guide to view the portal itself, to send document, to send for signature. All of this will be sent via agency memo closer to the date itself. So do keep a lookout for the agency memo that will be coming up next week. So more frequently asked questions. Do I have to download any specific application on my devices, on my iPad, on my phone, any sort of Adobe application? Short answer is no. Just like DocuSign, there is no sort of application that you'll be using. You just need to log into Adobe website instead of DocuSign. The link also will be shared via agency memo along with the guides. How do I activate my account? How do I log in subsequently? Just as shared. The process is just as shared just now, and the step-by-step guide will also be shared later. Do customers need an Adobe account to be able to sign, fill, or view documents? No, just like you guys, customers do not need any sort of Adobe account. For customers, they don't need a website portal login as well. They will be receiving an email every time a form is triggered for their action, and they can click on the email directly to go through the portal and complete their sign or view or fill process. This will be shared later by Pranshul during his demo as well. Then last but most important, what is the first day to send out Adobe Forms? 1st May 2025. Okay, so now I'll move over to Pranshul to share the live demo with you guys.
Thank you, Kamakshi. Let me take over the screen sharing and if you can just give me a confirmation that you are able to see my screen.
Yep, I'm able to see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So, hi everyone, a very good morning. My name is Pranshul. I am a solutions consultant at Adobe, focused on Adobe Acrobat Sign. Now, I want to show you a quick demo just so that you have an idea as to when you log in, what should be the steps you should be taking. Now, what I'll be showing you today is a demo of how the sender's experience is like. That is when you guys will be logging in, how your experience is going to look like when you want to send out a document for signature. What are the steps which you will be taking? Then I will be switching over and playing the role of a signer. I will be showing you how the experience is going to look like from a signer's point of view. What are the options which they will be seeing, how can they interact with the document, complete the fields, fill in the form, and complete the whole part which they are supposed to. Then we will see what comes back at the end of the workflow. That is, how does a signed document looks like, and what are some of the management or the tracking capabilities which you have in the applications to track what is the status of the workflow in real time as well. So this is the flow which we are going to follow. As Kamakshi mentioned, if you have any questions during the course of the session, you can use the Q&A chatbot. You can ask the questions and put it there. Most probably, I'll try to cover all the previously asked questions during the course of the demo, so you have complete visibility into what's going on. But if anything else which is left off, we will be looking at the Q&As at the end of the call as well, and I'll be answering all of those questions as well. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is the Adobe Sign web portal interface. Now you might hear the term Adobe Sign or Adobe Acrobat Sign might be used kind of intermittently. Both refer to the same application. So do not get confused, because I hear sometimes there is a bit of a confusion. They both refer to the same application. We are talking about the same tool. This is a web-based application similar to what you have been used to using in DocuSign. You access the URL on a web browser, you enter your username, password, your credentials, like as Kamakshi mentioned. Once you have entered the credentials, this is how your UI is going to look like. Now, there would be certain options which potentially could be enabled or disabled depending on what's the rights or the permissions which are given to you. We will be spending time today on just understanding what exactly are the steps which you will be taking once you log in. So once you log in, you will be seeing some notifications on the top, which is how many documents which are currently sent out from your account, how many are in progress. If there is a document waiting your signatures, you will see it over here, which says 0 waiting for you. Then there will be an events and alert tab. If there is an event or an alert which has happened which probably requires your attention, you can click here and you will be able to see any events which require your attention as well. There's an event, there's an alert. If you want to, you can just quickly go and see if there is something which is really pressing which needs your attention. Then what you need to do is you want to send out a document for signing. So what you can do is you can click on start from library. In your case, if library is not there, it might say start from a workflow. Either ways, you just click on the button and then you select workflows. Now, I want to maybe point out a couple of things because I understand that you are used to using a different terminology with DocuSign. The inbuilt process or the architecture pretty much remains the same. It's just that the terminologies are a little different. What you are probably used to calling templates in DocuSign, we will call it as workflows in Adobe Sign. They are pretty much the same. There is a document which needs to be sent. There are recipients who are attached to the particular document. As a sender, you need to specify who these recipients are. In a workflow or in the template which you were working previously, document is already pre-attached. So you really are only taking care of entering the recipient's details and sending the document out for signing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a particular workflow, which is the change of particulars. If I don't see the in the list, I can just quickly go and do a search. But if you're assigned to the relevant group, then you might be seeing this workflow coming up on top as well. You click on start, and then you will be taken to the send screen of the portal. Now, in the send screen, you will be able to specify who the intended recipients are going to be for this particular workflow. If there are some information which requires your maybe assistants, or in case you want to, the creator of the workflow has some information they want to share with you, it will be shown right on top, which will probably have some content for you. If not, you can just directly go and directly look at the recipients section, wherein you will be able to specify who are the people who are going to be signing the document. Now, in this case, I am going to be the first recipient. So what I'll do is, since it's myself, I'll just enter myself, because this is me, the sender or the financial consultant in this case, who will be filling up the content first, and then this document needs to go to a policy owner. Now, when I start typing in the first letter of the policy owner's email, what will happen is, based on the documents which I have sent out in the past, it will show me recommendations. So it kind of remembers whom are the people whom you have sent the document in the past. Because I understand you might want to say that, hey, I cannot really remember all the emails which I have sent in the past. If I have sent it to a person previously, when I start typing in, it will automatically remember. And then that those details will be pre-shown to you. So you can just select, okay, when you start with J, it will show me all the people whose email starts with a J to whom I have sent a document in the past. And whosoever is the correct recipient for this one, I can just click it, and that's it. The whole email gets populated directly as is. But if it's a new recipient whom you have not sent anything in the past, then you can just enter their email address and the process begins. Adobe Acrobat Sign works the same as how it works within DocuSign, wherein a link will be sent to your recipient's inbox. Recipients click on the link, signs the document, and completes the process. Now, once you have entered both the participant, the FC, and the policy owner, you can specify what is the second factor of authentication which you want to apply. Now, if you see on the right side, the first one it says none, while for the second one it says password. Now, the difference here is that for the first recipient, I've kept the option as the password option as optional. Now, what I call a password here, in DocuSign, you probably might be using the term access code. It's the same thing. You need to create an access code for your recipients, and the recipient needs to enter that access code before they sign the document. Now, that access code or the password can be either mandatory or that can be optional. In this first recipient's case, it's optional. So by default, none is selected. If I want to, I can click on password and set a recipient for this person as well. But although this is just me signing the document, maybe not really relevant in this case. But for the second person, who is the policy owner, this is set as mandatory. So this person definitely needs to enter a password before they go ahead and sign the document. So what I'll do is I'll create the password. I'll probably confirm the password again, just so that I make sure that I'm entering the correct password. By default, the password is hidden. That is, it is shown in this kind of a character space. But if you want, you can show the password as well, just so that you're making sure that, okay, the password which I'm entering is the correct one. Once done, you click on OK, and the password will be set for the intended recipient. So first recipient, myself, I just need to fill in some fields. There is no two-factor authentication applied for me since password was optional. For the second person, that is the policy owner, this is the email which I had selected from the drop-down list, and password is applied as a mandatory step. I've already created the password. This password would be required by the recipient to fill in. The next thing is the CC. Now, CC is already pre-populated as part of the workflow. This probably would be, most probably it will be non-editable, but if it will be editable, it will be same as how you are doing in DocuSign. So if it was editable there, it will be editable here. If it was not editable there, it will be disabled as well over here. So as you can see, there are some CCs who will be receiving a copy of the document at the end of the workflow, but that cannot be changed by you. You can just probably keep it as is. The custom message which will be shown to the participants, that will be available in the message tab as well. As you can see, the document will also be pre-attached, no changes needed there. A couple of other options which will be shown to you. You can password protect the final signed document if required. This is more like an additional step if you want to do. This is different from the password which we had applied over here. This password, the password protect, this one applies to the signed PDF document after it is signed, but that password was for the recipient to enter before they sign the document. So you can think of it as the first password was before signing, the second password is after signing. Then there will be a completion deadline. Now, as per the workflow or the template creation, a completion deadline is already preset. If you want to keep it as is, you can leave it. If you want, you can drill down and change the completion deadline as well. What the completion deadline does is it specifies by when should the document be signed, and if the document is not signed within that time frame, it will be considered as cancelled or void. You can also set up reminders. These are automated reminders which are sent from the system, and you can decide what is the frequency of these. Do you want to send reminders every day, every week, every business day, every other day? Depending on what frequency you feel for your workflow is right, you can select that particular frequency. And Adobe will be sending out automated reminders from the system based on the frequency which you have selected. Okay, so from the send screen, everything is done. I've entered myself as the first recipient. Policy owner details are there. Password is set. Couple of other options which I wanted to. I've had a look at them. I'm good to go. I will click on send. Now, before this document is being sent out, there are certain details which I, as a sender, needs to pre-fill on the documents, and I was added as the pre-filler. I need to enter the policy number of the recipient. So I'll go ahead and enter the policy number for that participant. I'm just entering some, some sample data here. Now, before I send it out, a couple of things to note. There would be certain fields which will be marked as mandatory and certain fields which will be marked as optional. The fields which are marked with a star, like this one over here, this is a mandatory field. Whereas if I'll be showing you for the next recipient, certain fields might possibly be marked as optional as well. The fields have been created that way based on, how the templates were created in DocuSign. So if it was probably mandatory there, it will be kept mandatory here. If they were optional there, they will be kept optional here as well. So as a sender, I was required to enter policy number. In your workflow, depending on the document you are triggering, you might be needed to enter more details. For you also, some details might be required, some details might be optional. Once you have filled in all the required information, you just click on submit, and that's it. The document has been initiated. You have pre-filled the information and it has been routed to the recipient. Now let me jump to the signer's interface to show you how the experience is from a signer's point of view. So the signer will receive an email which looks like this, which says that the sender requests your signature on the change of particulars on marketing consent form. The due date which you had selected on the same page, that will be shown over here, which is it's due by 28th of April. The message which was configured on the workflow or the template, it will be shown over here. And then there will be a button which says review and sign. So the recipient will be clicking on the review and sign button, which will take them to the signing interface. But since we had applied a password, this recipient needs to enter this password before they can go ahead and sign. So I entered the password, clicked on continue, and now I am presented with the signing interface. Now, two important things I want to highlight about the signing interface. The first is that a signer is not required to have Adobe account to sign the document. For the signer, they won't even know what Adobe Sign is or what DocuSign is or what any other application is. It does not matter. They will still be able to click on the link and sign the document. The second important thing is that this signing interface will be shown in a secured and encrypted web browser session. What this means is they don't need to download anything separately, they don't need to install anything separately. As long as they have access to their email and internet connection, they will be able to click on the link and sign the document. They can sign it on a laptop, on a desktop, on a mobile phone. As long as they have access to email and internet, they'll be able to access the document and sign on it. So if you notice, I had mentioned previously, there are certain fields which are marked as mandatory and certain fields which are marked as optional. So these two fields, the date of birth of the policy owner is kind of marked as mandatory. So I need to fill that. I need to fill in the name of the policy owner as well. Then certain fields are kind of marked as optional. If you want to, you can select this. If you don't want, you can deselect this depending on again how the flow was created. Like for example, in this case, if I have selected the change of signature, then there are certain fields will pop up. That is, complete the details below and attach a copy with your new signature signed to it. So then there could be certain fields like these, wherein only when certain fields are selected, these fields would pop up. If you deselect them, these fields would go away. Then again, certain fields might be required in terms of this was a checkbox, while as this is a radio button. In a checkbox, you can select multiple boxes. In a radio buttons, at one time you can only select one among the group. So depending on what's the kind of form you're working in, different options might pop up. There would be a mixture of text inputs. There will be checkboxes, there will be radio buttons, there will be signature fields, name fields, attachment fields. All of these would be there and they will be carry forwarded as it was in your previous environment. Now my recipient needs to sign on the box right at the bottom. So they click on the click to sign button. They will be presented with four different options in which they can sign. First is that they can type their name and it will generate a signature like font. Second option is they can draw their signatures using the mouse pad or using the touch screen of the mobile. Third option is they can upload an image of the signature. And the fourth option is they can have a link sent to their mobile phone if they want to use their phone as kind of a signature pad, which needs to be mirrored in real time on their desktop or laptop. Whichever option they choose, they can click on apply. The signature, the name, and the date accordingly will be captured and will be populated on the document. If they are good to go, they just do a click to sign, and that's it. The document has been signed by my policy owner as well. Now, once the document is signed, they will receive a confirmation email which says that you're done signing the change of particulars form. And then, if you want to, you can open the final agreement or view the details associated with the document as well. If I go back to my senders interface, as a sender, I can also track the status of the document in real time. So if I click on manage this agreement, I will be taken to the manage tab where as a sender, I will be able to see, hey, what is going on with this document? So I can see that the status of the document is currently changed to signed. That means this document was signed already. I can download this PDF. I can download the audit report if I want to. In a minute, I'll show you how the signed document looks like as well. I can download form field data as a CSV if I want to. Now, in this case, the document was signed already, but if it was an in progress document, I also had the option of sending additional reminders. So if I want to, I can click on reminders and I could have sent additional reminders. This is more from a sender's point of view, wherein they have sent a document, maybe the recipient has not signed the document yet, it's been so long, you might want to send them additional reminders on an ad hoc basis. You can do that from within this page as well. Then comes the recipient tab, wherein you will be able to see who are all the recipients, have they completed their part or not. The green checkbox next to their name signifies they have done their part, there's nothing else pending on them. If you drill down on the activity tab, it will show all the events which are going on with the document in real time, and they will get updated. So as soon as someone views, someone signs, or someone takes any step on the document, it will be highlighted over here in the activity tab so that you as a sender have complete visibility on what is going on with the document. Now, this is a manage tab for just this document which I had sent. If you want, you can drill down on the manage tab from the top and it will bring you to the manage tab, which will be like your one-stop shop for all the documents which have been sent from your account. And if you see on the left, they will be placed into different headers: in progress, waiting for you, completed, cancelled, expired, etc. So depending on what is the correct state of the document, it will be placed into different headers, and then you can drill down on the headers and search for the document. If you want to search for a particular document, you can also go ahead and just type the name over here. So I want to search for change of particulars. I just typed in change and it automatically showed me that with this name, there is one document which is completed and one which is currently in progress. If I want to drill down, apply some filters on specific date, maybe I want to see the document which was modified with the name change in the last 7 days, I can do that and click on apply. And these filters will be applied and the results will be shown to me. Now, let me show you how the signed document looks like. So this is my signed document. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this is the audit report. Let me download the signed document again. I think my download was paused for some reason. Okay, so this is how the signed document looks like. All the information which was entered by the recipient will be provided and will be embedded within the document. Like the policy number was entered by the first participant, and then the date of birth and the name and all those other details will be embedded within the document. The very first thing which you will notice about the signed document is that it cannot be tampered with. If you open this PDF, you'll notice that the edit button is grayed out. That means this document cannot be edited. It's an encrypted, tamper evident document. How can you verify this? By this blue bar on top, which says certified by Adobe Acrobat Sign. So if you're opening a document which has this blue bar, you can be rest assured that this document has not been tampered with since the signatures were applied. The integrity of all the contents which were provided by the recipients, they kind of remain intact within the document. Additionally, for every transaction, there will be an audit report which gets generated. The audit report will capture all the important events which occurred with the document since it was sent for signing. So it will capture details like who was the sender, when was the document created, who created it, what was the email address, what was the name, whom was it emailed to, what was the information which was filled, what was the exact time on which that particular event occurred, what was the IP address used. All this information will be captured in the audit report, and this will be provided within the document. Now, this audit report will either be attached to the document or will be received as a separate one, depending on the settings which have been applied for your account. But either ways, there will be an audit trail which will get generated for each and every transaction. But because this kind of acts as a proof of a record that signing actually took place. So if this person, like John Room, comes back later and says that, hey, I don't remember signing this document, you can use this as a proof that, okay, this document was sent on so and so date by so and so person. It was received by you, you signed, filled in the details, and all of that. So the two-factor authentication which they used, which was a password, even that will be captured in the audit report that this person entered a valid password which was assigned by the sender. Okay, so this completes the flow where we saw how you can use the Adobe Sign interface. This is how the homepage looks like. You begin your journey from start from library or start from workflows depending on your UI. You click on this, select the workflow, the particular workflow which you want to trigger. It will take you to the send screen. You enter the details of the participant. As a sender, you pre-fill some information. There will be some fields required, some field optional. You fill in the relevant information. You send it for signatures. The policyholder gets the document for signing on their email. The email will have a link which they can click on, review, and sign. They enter the password which was required for them. Once they enter the right password, document will be shown to them in their browser interface. They do not need Adobe Sign account to sign the document. They click the signature box, they apply the signatures, fill in the relevant information. Once it is completed, a completion mail goes to the policyholder as well as the sender. The signed document, which is a tamper evident PDF, can be downloaded. There will be an audit report which will be generated, and all of that will be available as a tamper evident PDF document. You will not be able to edit it, and you can use the Manage tab to track the status of the workflow in real time and just have a look at what's all has been going on. If you need to, you can send additional reminders from the Manage tab as well. Manage tab is actually a one-stop shop. If you want, you can look for or search for previous documents. You can also do that from the Manage tab. With that, I complete my part and I'll do a stop sharing and just check if there are any open questions. Okay, so I see there are a few questions which are in the Q&A section. Kamakshi, can we just maybe go through all these questions one after the other?
Yeah, sure. So one popular question I saw was about the correction feature in
Mhm.
DocuSign at the moment. This was actually previously raised in the previous sessions as well. My understanding, Pranshul as well, you can add on, is that
Mhm.
currently we do not have the feature, the correct feature in Adobe Sign, but the team is in the works to include something around those lines. So Pranshul, maybe you can share
Yeah.
more if you have. Yeah.
Yes. So we
Thanks,
do.
Kamashi. Maybe I can add on to that as well, Prancha. I was monitoring the chat, right? And I think a lot of the correction functions, it seems to be having the advisors being able to fill up the forms on behalf of customers to a certain extent. Scenario could be they're sitting with customers and they're helping them to kind of complete certain details. Could be virtual or in person, as well as even possibly even attaching some documents, right? Documentary support into the signing workflow as well. So I was replying onto the chat as well on an option for form fillers. I don't know whether we can explore the option of having the advisors as form fillers so that they can help to also fill up the form on behalf of their clients. Yep. Pranshu?
Yeah, okay. So I understand this kind of a requirement. Now, one of the things is that I notice in the current workflows that the sender is marked as the form filler who needs to pre-fill some information. Like in my example, if I was marked as the first recipient who's only pre-filling the policy number while the other details are filled in by the recipients, then it's going to follow this flow. But if you want, maybe in certain workflows, the policy hold or the FC can be marked as the form filler for all the other fields as well, wherein they can maybe when they're sitting directly next to the policyholder, they can fill in some details on their behalf. Since they're sitting with them, they can verify those details, upload the attachments, and then the document can be sent. In that case, the second participant, which is the policyholder, can just receive the document, sign on the box which is required, and then complete their part. That is, if you have these kind of requirements where you are assisting or the financial consultant is assisting the customer to kind of fill in the details, you can use that particular workflow. The other part, which if I'm as Kamakshi was mentioning, there is a modify option which exists within Adobe Sign, but since we are using this workflow which is more like a tagged or more like a templated version, so the modify option currently has been disabled. As she mentioned, we are currently working internally to see how this option can be enabled. And once we have more update on that, that option will be, the details will be shared with you once we have any update on that. Okay, so I see there are a few questions which we have answered already. So I'll probably just look at only the open questions. Okay, so I can see that there is a questions around customers to attach document can fill up the form on the behalf of the customer. I think, yeah, it's pretty much the same. There is an attachment field. Now that attachment field can be marked for the form filler who is the financial consultant. That attachment field can be marked for the customer who are updating it from their device. Depending on who is filling the form, the workflows can be created accordingly. But yes, the option are possible wherein you are able to attach documents for them if that field is assigned to you. And then the customers can attach if there is a field which is assigned to them. Then I see there's a question, what's the default completion date by the system? If past deadline, any option to copy and trigger a new one? Okay, so the default completion date is the one which is set for the workflow, which if I'm not wrong, for most of the workflows, I was seeing it was somewhere around 14 days, or it could be more or less as well. For each workflow or what you had were calling templates in DocuSign, there is a separate completion deadline set. Now, once the completion deadline reaches, that transaction gets cancelled. Then what you will need to do is you will need to re-trigger the transaction using the same flow which I was showing. Go to your home page, select the workflow, and begin the transaction again. There is a reason why this has been kept in case for certain scenarios wherein certain documents or agreements which are triggered, they have a kind of a deadline in terms of, hey, this needs to be signed, otherwise this document will not remain valid anymore. And for those reasons, this kind of a completion date has been set. As I was mentioning, it will be different for each and every workflow depending on what's the date set by your workflow creator. You will be able to see the date, and then accordingly that date will apply. Once the date reaches, it will be cancelled, and you can just trigger a new transaction by going to the home page, selecting the workflow, and sending it out for signing again. Okay, it says for the mandatory fields, can the box be highlighted like red in DocuSign? It's just a red asterisk. Big red box is easier to see visually than a small red star. Okay, so the default option here is that it kind of shows up as a star because the asterisk is something which comes up into mind based on most of the users' experience. If they see this red star mark, they generally see that this is more like a required field. In fact, The form which I was noticing, or which I was using, there was a statement mentioned in the form as well that the fields which are marked with a star are mandatory. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what the form also is showcasing in terms of the user experience. But okay, I'll take this feedback and see if there are any changes which are coming up in this for the field especially. But for now, this asterisk will depict that okay, this is a mandatory field which will be required to be filled in. Now, even though this is shown as an asterisk, or it could be something else as well, what's most important is, unless the recipient or whosoever is the one filling in the document, unless they fill in all the required fields, they will not be able to go ahead and sign and complete the process. In fact, the sign button or the complete button will not even be shown until they have filled in all the required fields. So they will be required to fill in all the fields before they're able to complete the process. And in the signing interface, it will be highlighted right on top where it says how many mandatory fields are pending your signatures. And if you notice, there was a start button on the left side. When you click on start, it will automatically point you to all the required fields which require your input. So during the signing interface, there are various different cues which are mentioned in the options to make sure your recipients are entering details in all the fields which are marked as mandatory. And of course, unless they enter those details, they will not be able to go ahead and complete the process. Okay. I see there is another question. Can we do a demo of the form filler option in which we fill in the forms for the client and the client just have to sign only? Okay, so in this case, what you will do is the experience will be pretty much similar to what I had shown, wherein the form filler is the one. In my example, the form filler just filled in the policy number. In your case, if you have this kind of a workflow wherein the form filler is the one who's filling in more of the details, then the workflow needs to be created that way, in which case more fields will be assigned to the form filler, and they are the first ones who are filling in the form fields. They fill in the data on the form fields. The signer, when they receive the document, they just click on the signature box, which I had done in my demo. So the experience will be largely the same as what we had seen. It's just that form filler will have more fields, which they'll fill on behalf of the policyholder. Yeah, Kamakshi.
Okay, so I think most of the questions related to the form filler, I think, are also on the lines of the correction feature,
Yeah.
more to do with the modification. So that because, like, I understand from the agents that your use case is such that it is to do with more of a flexibility that both you as well as the client should be able to edit. So in case like you can pre-fill for them and they can go through it, if there is something you can change it up, right? So all of this will be about the modification feature, the modify option that Pranshul mentioned earlier. So I think for your use case, more than the form filler, modify will be the more applicable option here because the form filler itself will be set from the workflow owner perspective and will not be edited directly by the agents, not by you guys. So I think for you we will be working on the modify option first to be able to enable it as soon as possible. Yeah, that's the I think that's the situation right now for this particular question that is asked.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think most of the questions are around the same, which is filling in, or if there's a wrong information, how to correct that. Um, is there a void function if the client fill in wrongly his name or stack? Okay, so void function is pretty much the same as either you modify it before the document gets signed completely, or there is an option to cancel from the sender's point of view as well. So if you remember in the when we went to the manage tab, there were these different options on the right. It was a completed transaction, so the cancel option was not there. But in your case, you will have that option to void or cancel a transaction altogether
Share
if
your
something
screen
is
and
incorrect.
show
Yeah.
this as well, Pranshul. The manage tab. I think a lot of questions have to do with that. So maybe you can share your screen and
Uh, I
show
can share
the
my
manage
screen.
tab.
Okay, sure. So let me bring up the screen. Let's go to share. So I'll go to the manage tab. So I think this was like one of the previous examples which I had sent. If you see, there is a cancel button over here. So you can use this cancel button to void the transaction if you want to. But again, this option will be there only when this is an in progress transaction. Of course, once the document is signed, it's already become more like a legally binding document that cannot be cancelled anymore. So cancel button in that case will be removed. But for in progress transaction, yes, the cancel button will be there and you'll be able to void the transaction if you want to. Um, I think there was another question around similar lines. Let me just quickly go back to the Q&A so I can check. Okay, I think this was same for around modifying the form before it is sent to the client. But yeah, as we were mentioning, the modify option is the one which we've noted down that this is a requirement which is needed, and we will go back and we will get an update on how this option can be enabled or what can be done for this particular scenario. Okay, there's a question from Vivian. In case the form is incorrectly logged or mandatory field and you need some changes to the form, whom they can contact to amend the forms? Maybe Kamakshi, you can take this one.
Uh, to amend the forms, you will not. Okay. Just like in DocuSign, anything related to queries, you have to go to the help desk first. And if it is related to form amendment, and if it is something possible from our end, I think our help desk will reach out to us. So everything you need to go to help desk first.
Okay, so I see another question. If a client's email address is not registered, can we still use Adobe Sign? Yes, you can use Adobe Sign. Adobe Sign can be used for users who are registered. They can also be used for users who are not registered. If you remember, I was mentioning signer necessarily is not required to have Adobe Sign account to sign the document. They would not even know what is Adobe Sign. They will still be able to click on the link and sign the document. You can use